Hello and welcome to another episode of Going Down with Rob Williams, the show where we dive deep down into the nitty-gritty details of these different martial arts moves and figure out how in the world is it that these upper belts pull this off. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about maintaining mount position and how I set up the gift wrap. And I'm also going to show you the gift wrap choke at the end.
Yes, just like the actor.
Okay, so let's first discuss the position that we're in here. So, however you ended up here, let's say you're in the mount position like I am. So, I have a roughly 90-degree angle on my arm underneath my teammate's neck here. I'm being real heavy with the hips by pointing it down and forward, like so. And I'm also orienting my legs in a position where I can keep her trapped. I'm a fan of either crossing my ankles in BJ pin style mount or going through with the grapevine over to the side, like so. Whichever one is most preferable for you. One other thing that I wanted to point out with this arm is, typically speaking, I want to lean in this direction to get that cross-face pressure going. And depending on which way my teammate's face is pointed, I can also get a little bit of a smother action, which is what is going on here as well. So from here, she's going to try to escape by popping the leg through. Hey, very similar to a previous video that I've done. How about that? So from here, what I'm thinking is I can't hang out here and do absolutely nothing because eventually she'll be able to chain enough mount escapes together and get me up off her. So because of that, I decide that I want to set my trap immediately. So this is something that I do frequently, and it may not seem immediately obvious to the people that I'm rolling with, but it's a trap right out the gate. So what I'm trying to do is walk my arm down and start to trap my opponent's arm, which is going to be roughly around here. So all I'm trying to do is touch it and then start to act like I'm trying to trap it and attack for like an Americana or something. Now, I'm really not trying to besmirch the Americana submission, also known as a key lock. I mean, don't get me wrong, it works. I've tapped to it before, but it's just percentage-wise, seems on the lower end of the spectrum in comparison with some of the other things that I've got polished up at this point. So because of that, I'm not really trying to attack this arm with any sort of sincerity. I mean, I'll act really hard, like I'm trying to point it in this direction and really trying to go for it, but really it's just a ruse. So because of that, most people end up freaking out and they'll try to defend this. Now, one thing I want to point out about my teammate here is her arm currently is right there. This is not an advantageous position for me to be able to attack that gift wrap choke. So I set this trap on the other side to try to get her to defend in this direction, which is, as you'll see here in a second, is exactly what she does. So as she transfers through, she's like, oh crap. The arm's trying to get attacked. The second she dove it through in this direction. I did something very subtle, but very effective. I started to walk my body in this direction to close up that space. So now it's hard, if not impossible, to get her elbow back through to where it originally was. This is the point of no return for the forward movement. As soon as I get to this position, I am pretty confident that I'm going to be able to move on to something more advantageous for me, whether that's mounted triangle or gift wrap or back take or armbar or something else. So once I close up that space, now I got what it is that I'm working with. So hopefully you can see this at a good angle on this particular camera, but I literally go through with this arm, I thread it through, I find my opponent's wrist, and then I yank that thing back in this direction. Once we're in a situation where this is completely trapped. I'm not going to let this space go and open back up until I decide so. I'm also going to let this hand go and bring it back into the fight up top, which you'll see here in just a second. So I transfer it through. And let's dissect that entry real quick. So originally, I kept that space in really tight. Again, you can see me yanking and pulling that thing back. I've got a lot of pressure from her arm pulling in this direction. I am purposefully taking my arm and starting to rotate it in this direction so I can open up that space for my other arm to come through. So I thread it through in between her arm and her neck, and it's going to pop out roughly around here. Okay, once I feel that I've adequately got this arm through, I am going to pull my arm back through in this direction to close up that space. I don't want to leave this opening for her because she's just going to use that to try to counter what it is that I'm doing. So again, just the overall concept of controlling spaces that I've talked about previously. So once I get this through and I close up the space, in order to finish this, it's a counter rotation of a move. So I'm going to try to pull her arm back through in this direction as I press with my fist in the side of her carotid artery in this direction. So it's a push and a pull. And as I'm doing this, another subtle detail that you can do is kind of hip in to get that extra little bit of pressure. Now, because this is going down with Robin Williams, I want to talk about some really nitty-gritty details about how I'm maintaining this position, which is not going to be anything groundbreaking for folks who have been training for a while, but it's something that is not often talked about when it's taught in classes. So if I'm just kind of chilling here, not really doing anything, and I don't have good base, it leaves that opportunity for the gift wrap escape that I previously talked about. And it gives her the opportunity to prevent me from getting and maintaining this position. So because of that, I need to be very secure in my posture right out the gate. Otherwise, none of this is going to be possible. So I do that by keeping my knee and my quad underneath her shoulder, like so. I got this up really, really far north in comparison to where her head is. My leg is swiveled through in a kickstand orientation, so think about a motorcycle, which I'm not going to draw because let's not kid ourselves here, I suck at art. But you got this kickstand here to prevent you from going any farther in that direction. And I've also got my leg up and over in this direction, which if we had an x-ray, you could see it going through here. I got my knees pinched together. So this space in between, there's that counter pressure going on here. I've also got my hips engaged forward when I need to help maintain the position. So these are all critically important details to be able to maintain this position in the first place so you can set these things up. Okay, so with all that said, I want to make this very clear. The gift wrap choke is not an extremely high percentage move in my experience, just based on all the things that I've polished up at this point. So this is a move that'll give it a try. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. And if it doesn't, at the very least, I'm wearing them down, and I can use that to act my way to get them thinking that I'm really trying to force it, and then I can set something else up that'll be a little bit more advantageous for me. Now, with all that said, that has been Going Down with Robin Williams. If you like this content, please leave a comment for me down below. And if you have suggestions for future videos, just shoot me a message. I'd love to do some research on it.
With all that said, my name is Ron Williams. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I will see you on the mats.
So, should I call the police or